Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We have got a great show for you today, and we're going to be talking to an author and a coach and a teacher and all kinds of. Now, when I mean teacher, I don't mean classroom. I mean teacher as in teaching people how to write, perhaps, and the process that you have to go through to publish your own books and stuff like that. So Diane Bator is with us. Diane Bator's right, correct?
It is. You got it.
Awesome, man. And it's great to have you back here because you were here way back in 2023.
Yes, we kicked off the new year together, I think. So
yes,
it's been a while.
What do you think of the new opening?
Fabulous. I love it.
Oh, well, good. Because we are progressing in a kind of a really good way, and I'm really glad to have you here because there are, Diane, there are lots and lots of people that would love to be able to say, I want to write, I want a book, I want to be able to have a book to say that I'm a published author, but most of us get stuck. And I kept getting stuck with a blank piece of paper in front of me going, all right, now what do I do? I don't know. What I'm and I think
how
I know.
Do I make the words?
And how do I make the words make sense so that on page 5 they make sense with what's on page 1? I never could figure that out myself.
It's called a rough draft. And then it's called editing.
Apparently it is a rough draft and stuff. So, but anyway, you are the author of 15 books.
16 now.
16. It's amazing how they just keep piling up.
All the voices just keep popping out.
Now, I got to ask you about that because writing so many books, and I know you've written several series of books, and a lot of them are in the genre of mystery and that sort of thing. But how do you keep coming up with new and fresh and innovative ideas?
I wish I could explain it. I really do. It's so funny because I'll hit a point in a series and I'm like, okay, I'm out of ideas. I'm going to do something different for a while. And then all of a sudden one day I'll be like, oh, this could happen to this character, or this could, and it could be something I hear at work. It could be something I just see on the internet or in, a magazine or on TV. And it's like, oh, if I did this to my character, what would they do? And it's great because every different character is going to react differently. So even if you have kind of similar storylines through different series, you're going to have a totally different outcome.
That is the part that I just don't understand. Because, and I talk to a lot of musicians and poets and authors and creative people, and they'll, to a person, will tell me, I don't know where it came from. It just sort of happened.
I just take the dictation. They tell me what's going on.
And that is what's I got yelled at by a guy. His name is Neil Donald Walsh, and he wrote Conversations with God.
Yeah.
And he was on the New York bestseller list for like 2.5 years. And I said, how did you think up all of this? How did you put it all together? And he says, first of all, you got it all wrong. I didn't think anything up. I just took dictation.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Honestly, that's it. It was really funny because last summer, I think I have that book here. Last summer, I moved across Canada. I do not recommend traveling with 2 cats. No, not by yourself for sure. But it was a really interesting trek. And life has changed so dramatically, you wouldn't even realize. But last summer, I was kind of hanging around going, I just don't feel like writing the same old thing. I came across a small publisher called Aconite Cafe, and they were putting out calls for short stories. And I'm like, yeah, I could do a short story, no problem. So the first one I did with them is Beach of a Crime. Basically, the title of the book is your prompt for the story. And wherever this character came from, I have this just incredibly funny, crazy, everything happens to her, and she just, dives right in. She's a little PI, and she is just the wackiest, most fun character I think I've ever written. And I'm just, what are we at now? 8 stories in, and I'm actually putting together a collection of her short stories that I want to release for Christmas once I have all my rights back for them. But it's just an absolute blast.
How do you, when you're writing a book or a novel or a mystery series, come up with, because each character, I really like about a good writer is that you will know what the character's personality is like, and their sense of humor and how they react to things. How do you do that with different characters? Because you've got somebody that might be a lower vibration personality and not very happy or whatever, and then you got somebody else who's effervescent and flowing and really exciting. How do you differentiate, and how do you put all that together?
I like I said, it just kind of happens. Like with this particular story, literally I sat with pen and paper and I wrote it in 3 days, and boom, there were all the characters, there was everything. I just had to give it a quick edit and send it in. It was just absolutely amazing. But especially after you write a first draft, and it's always great to get somebody else to read your first draft or edit it first, clean up typos and that kind of thing. And I think it's always very cool that you can go back through and you can read for yourself, and you can read, like I was telling somebody else, I always try and do the voices in my head most of the time as that character, and put yourself in that character's shoes. Who would they be? How would they act? I don't always have a written out outline sketch of each character because they're locked in here somewhere. Um, and I can just put myself in their shoes all the time. And a different character, you can change the way they talk, you can change the way they dress, they look. I've had so many different characters walking through my head. It's like trying to keep them all straight. Sometimes I have this great little list of all their names and which books they're in, and what they look like and how they talk. Like, do they have an accent? Do they use contractions? Do they speak very formal? Are they very kind of uppity, right? So but for me personally, I've always been a pantser. So I just sit and I just write, and whatever comes out is what comes out, and I can tweak it later if I have to.
What do you mean when you say pantser?
Oh yeah. So pantsers and plotters are kind of the two known author types. And there's also plantsers, which are kind of in the middle. So a plotter is somebody who's going to sit down, make an outline, write out their character studies, write out all of this stuff. And then there's some of us that are a little lazy and just go, I'm just going to write because I just, I have an idea. I'm just going to write it and see where it goes. A plantser is somewhere down the middle. So they'll have a lot of times that's how my books will be. I'll have an idea of where I'm starting, sometimes where I'm finishing, not always. And I'll have an idea of a few characters and what I want to have happen along the way. But for the most part, a lot of people I've talked to and heard doing webinars and stuff, they just like to sit down and just let the story come.
That's really interesting, because now, so let me ask you, is it like, see, when I do a podcast and then I go back and listen to it later, or a radio show, and I listen to it and I listen to the flow of the show and how it goes, but I can't follow the questions that I'm going to ask or the answers I'm going to get, because it's kind of like new to me. Because is it kind of like that for you? I mean, it feels like I don't know. You would think that what I'm doing is scripted and all that kind of. It's not. I have no earthly idea what I'm going to say next.
It's the same thing, because your questions are going to be based on, you know, the other person's answers, right?
Yep.
So whatever I say, you're going to come back and go, oh, well, wait a minute, that triggers this question. I did the same thing. I throw my characters out there and go, okay, well, this is what's going to happen, and what are they going to do about it? And
So when you're reading a book that you've already written, and maybe it's been a year or two since you've put it down and it's gotten published and stuff, and you start reading it, does it surprise you sometimes at where the direction of the book goes? Or do you remember everything that you wrote down?
most of them I remember. But the one I'm editing right now, I'm editing Dead Without Honor, which has been through so many iterations. Like I have 3 books with different covers. It's the same book. So I am going through that one again too. And there's a couple of parts that I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Okay, well, let's make sure I follow that along and make sure that's still in the book, just in case I did forget it while I was writing it. So it's been kind of interesting that way, because now I'm going back to, like, that particular book came out in, oh, what did it come out originally? It was 2015 or 2016, and then there was 3 books in this series. They all had different covers, and then that particular publisher decided my books weren't selling enough, so they pulled me, gave my books back, and we redid them in 2018. And now I'm doing them again now and going, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? And I get the chance to update, any of these characters with blackberries and that sort of thing. I'm like, yeah, we're just going to change that. And, so it's kind of fun that way. Like, I get to see how I've progressed over the last, oh my gosh, like 14 years.
Do you remember the day that your first book got published, and how did that make you feel?
See, my very first book it won a contest in a murder mystery writing contest. And it was a novella. And it actually was a 10-chapter novella based on a murder mystery party game from way back when, which I actually found a copy of the game not long after. But I won the contest, and I still have the very first off the press book in an envelope that the publisher gave me at the time and said, your very first book. And it has come with me everywhere. One day, I have not yet gone back through, did another edit and put it back up on Amazon, but that's coming too. But I was so excited, because even though I had always loved mysteries, loved puzzles, loved all that kind of stuff, I never wrote one. And that was the first one I ever wrote. And I went, oh, I can do this. This is cool. So, and then it wasn't too long after that my first novel came out, and that was The Bookstore Lady.
It's interesting, because is it kind of like a birthing process?
Oh, yeah. I have 3 kids. I can attest to that one.
Not that I would have any idea what that's like, but I've seen it from afar, and it is. I'm a guy, and most men would never wish that upon our worst enemy, is to go through a pregnancy, because it's like, holy mackerel, that's gotta hurt. So, but sorry, I digress.
That's okay.
But it's interesting that you did that, and then you figured out that you could do it. Did that open up the floodgates?
Oh, absolutely. Because I was writing other things before then, and it just never occurred to me to make them a mystery. And I was struggling with putting them together, and it wasn't the kind of book that I wanted it to be. And then I won this contest, and I went, oh, I wonder if this happens, is that, is that going to change the whole thing? Will that make it easier for me as a writer? And it really did. Like, I mean, 16 mystery novels later, right? And I'm also working on a fantasy novel with a friend of mine. We're hoping next year it will come out as soon as I get it and get to redo edits and stuff. We've already got the cover, so that part's very cool. And I'm also working on a romance series. Kind of, it's in a file drawer somewhere right now. But once I get some more of my old books redone, then that will start coming out as well.
So the romantic series, is it a fluffy romantic series? Is it a deep down dirty, not dirty, but a real intense romance?
I think it's a lot more realistic. I don't seem to be the kind of person who does fluffy very easily. So, which is, probably why the mystery. But I've read a few fluffy ones, and I'm just kind of like, nobody would do that. Come on, be real. So, I mean, I don't know if they're all going to be happily ever afters. They may be, happy for now is what they call them. And, that could be a thing, but I won't know until I get it finished, because that's kind of how I write.
Well, I'll tell you a story if you want a really good romance novel that ends up being a tragedy,
Oh,
all at the same time. And no one would believe me if I told them this was the case anyway. But I was married for 24 years, and we got along well in the early years, but something changed.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
And
25 years, by the way. Yeah.
oh yeah, well, there seems to be something about that time frame,
Right? There is. Yeah.
and but at the end of it, it was she ended up having a relationship with somebody that I'd known for 10 years,
Ooh, ouch.
and we didn't like each other much. And I loved his wife. I loved his girlfriend after he divorced his wife. They were wonderful people, and he was, to put it politely, less than a great human being.
Oh.
And I said, be careful of him. He is less than a great human being. But she decided, I'm going to find out what a lesser than human being is like. So she did. And they never, anyway, she could sue me. So I probably should keep my mouth shut. I won't tell you her name because that individual no longer exists. It's really interesting how that's happened in my life. Because now, do you take, when you write romance and you write things, do you take it from examples of your own life, or do you make it up?
It kind of depends. One of the books I've dabbled with it, so I kind of have the outline, like the bones of it. I just have to go back and flesh it all out. But it actually starts off with a real incident, and yeah, I'm like, no, I have to write this down because nobody's going to believe it was real. So,
well, it's like I was listening to my new favorite artist. Apparently, I'm a Swiftie because I really like, and at one point she said, you really shouldn't really do me wrong because I write songs.
I write mysteries.
And you can incorporate, it's like, I can just see somebody reading your mystery going, wait a minute, that sounds awful familiar to what,
I used to get a laugh because when I first started writing, I was still married, and people would actually ask my ex, do you sleep with one eye open? You never turn your back on her, right? Yeah. So.
Well, did he?
I don't know. I was busy sleeping.
Oh, it's, by the way, we're talking with Diane Bator, and she is an author. She also is a coach, and she helps people who maybe you think you got a book in you, but you're not sure. I don't know. Maybe I can't. I'm not sure and stuff. And she can help you work through that. And we need to take a quick break for Brushwood, and we will be right back with more with Diane. So stay with us. We're going to talk about her coaching and how she can help you get through the barriers that you have put up for yourself, because I don't think anybody did it to you. I think you did it to yourself. And I'll ask her that when we come back.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator or an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
All right, everybody, wake up now. It's time for you to wake up. We've got a great author with us today. She's got 16 books out there, and she's repurposing books because she's going to make them her own, and they need to get out there in a big way. And one of the things that she does is she helps people and coaches people who would like to write but have got serious and maybe not so serious, but in your world, when somebody comes to you, is it like they don't have any idea what they're doing, and are they getting in their own way?
Yeah, a lot of both. Some people just need the extra encouragement. Sometimes they need a little bit of brainstorming just to go, okay, well, I have this idea, but I don't know where to go with it. Sometimes it's something like they really need an editor because they have a story, they want to write the story, but they don't know how to write the story. So you come back with grammar and editing and all that fun stuff, which is kind of later in the process, depending on what they're doing and where they're at. I have a couple clients, one that he's taking his sweet time. He's not in a rush, but he's got a great story, and he sends me chapters whenever he feels like it or whenever he has time to write. The friend of mine that I was saying, we write a fantasy novel. We have this interesting way of doing things because he's not technical at all. Everything he does is on paper, which he mails to me, which we used to live in the same town at least. Now we live across the country. So there's a few packages that go back and forth now and then. So I had to go through, type up everything he gave me, flesh it out, print it off, send it to him. And right now he's just finishing up his first round of edits. So he's sending it back to me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll see where it's at when I get it, and we'll go from there. But I'm really hoping as late as next spring, next summer, we'll have that book out. And it is a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying doing that. I've never really written fantasy, but it's his book, and I'm just the sidekick. So
which is the hardest part? Is it the writing of the story? Is it the editing? Is it the illustrations? Is it the publishing? Which is the most difficult part of that whole process?
I think it depends on the person. Like, I mean, I love editing. I'm crazy. Sorry. I love editing. I love writing. I don't do illustrations. I have done my covers because I'm just have that artistic kind of side of me. And I wasn't so sure I could do it. But the first one that I did, I just went, oh, well, I did that.
That's pretty.
And thank you. And then the second one in this series will be similar. It'll be on a beach. And I've got ideas for it. And that'll come out next year sometime. But I had so much fun doing it. And so, then, yeah, even my All That Sparkles series or the Glitter Bay Mysteries, I came up with, because a couple of them are designers and they sell fashion. and it just kind of fell together. So it was just really great.
So you're a a jack of all trades. That's what I'm saying, because you can write, you can edit, you can illustrate, and you're now into publishing as well.
Yeah, I've become my own publisher. One of my daughter's friends actually designed my logo, which was very cool. I really love that. So I'm going to get one to put up on my wall behind me eventually, but just haven't got there yet. But yeah, it's not something you can do just overnight. Like I've been doing this for, oh my gosh, so it's like, well, 2007 is when I got serious about writing and started putting together my first book, which came, and then one of my books came out 2010, 2011. So there's been a lot of years of learning and a lot of skill building and a lot of sitting at the computer and doing, tutorials and that sort of thing, trying to figure out how to format and do the covers. So yeah, it's been a huge learning curve this year.
Well, and the interesting thing seems to me that there isn't a book that you can get. Now might be able to get pieces of it online and stuff, but there isn't a how-to book of A to Z. This is how you write a successful book and get it published, and you just follow it. Everybody has to learn in their own way how to do it. Is that right?
And not everything works for every single person. Like I have several books. I have one that a friend of mine wrote about being an indie author and everything. And some of the things that she writes, they're terrific. Like it's an amazing book. But at the same time, they're things that might not work for me, or they're skills that I don't have yet. So I'm still working on some of those things. But, there's a lot of other things that I do that other people are like, oh, I never thought of that. Or, I'm not good enough at this to market myself that way. So like I can talk. Some people would be like, I'm not doing that. No.
Oh, that's the other part I forgot. I forgot about the marketing part, because that can be a big deal for folks.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and I remember from writing groups and stuff I've been in, a lot of people are like, I just want to write my book, give it to somebody to publish and market and do all that stuff so I can just keep writing. And that used to be great, way back when. That's not the way the world is anymore. When you write a book, it doesn't matter who you're writing with as far as a publisher, you're still going to be doing a lot of marketing stuff. And you can see that on social media everywhere. Karen Slaughter is huge on social media. Like she's just hysterically funny. But you wouldn't think that from the kind of books she writes, but she is very funny.
Interesting that if you are going to be doing all of this, it's kind of like in the podcast world, there are so many podcasts out there that it's really difficult to break through the noise. And publishing is different now than it was 10, 15 years ago. And it's just like music publishing and stuff is, because I hear horror stories about somebody who wrote a song, and that song got 1 million plays on Spotify, and they get a check for like $60.
Yeah.
Does that happen in the publishing world too?
Absolutely. I know so many people that have written books and they're so excited. They put them on Amazon and then they're like, okay, my first royalties are like $1.50. What am I doing? It's like, well, nobody knows your book is there except your family or your friends. So that's when you have, before that book even comes out, you need to start doing the marketing. And my advantage right now is my books have already been out for the last 10 years or so. And so people are starting to know my name already. And now that I'm coming back with all of my, relaunched books and all of this stuff, I've already been doing a lot of that work over the last few years with Mickey and with my previous publisher, that, my name is out there a little bit more. So not to say I'm making more money, but I've got my own control of what I do, when I do it, and how I do it. So that for me has been a big step this year.
Well, and like for me in the radio world, it's a passion project. It isn't, I'll never get rich doing it. Joe Rogan, apparently he's a little skinnier than me and stuff, and I'll never be a Joe Rogan and get $1 million,
Thank
$100
goodness.
million.
We
This
love
has
you
been
the way you are, Kevin. Come on.
this has been an editorial comment by Diane, and I appreciate what I do rather than doing some of the other stuff that other folks do. So, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
So you've got 16 books out now, and you also are coaching people. If somebody wanted to contact you and talk to you about working with them, how do they contact you? I know they can go to your website, which is www.dianebator.ca, because you're in Canada, don't
I'm
you?
in Canadian land. Yes.
And by the way,
It's sunny here today. So
oh, that's good. That's good. I love you guys. And Canadians, in my mind, you used to live here, and then you got enlightened and moved north. And okay, so it's a little colder up there in some places, but you all seem to be so much nicer than most. Well, I better shut up now. So. This is positive talk after all. We need to take a quick break and a station break, and we'll be right back more with Diane Bator, and then we're going to talk about her coaching style and how she can help you get to really where you want to be, which is a published author that doesn't make any money. No, I'm kidding. Besides that, so we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And we're talking with Diane Bator. Diane, I just had an epiphany.
Oh, what?
And it didn't even hurt.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. I hate when they hurt.
Well, you know that commercial. I run that commercial specifically because in this country there are 4 million kids that are either hungry or homeless or in foster care. And that's 4 million. And when we look at the outcome that their lives have, many of them end up institutionalized in jail, kids, or on drugs or and stuff. So I want to write a book about a guy or gal that is in the institution of the foster care system, and she grows up, and then she gets a huge amount of money, and then she stamps out homelessness in the country. Wouldn't that be a good book to write?
That would be amazing.
Would never happen.
Would never happen, but
We'd call that a fantasy. Is what we call that. I mean, but it would be, for me, that would be like, it'd be kind of like Robin Hood, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, I'd send it to a producer and they'd say, "No, I'm sorry, that's already been done."
I know, it's amazing. Like I have some friends who they've been pitching things to big publishers and all of that. And a lot of them look for, I mean, there's only so many tropes. There's only so many stories that you can tell. It's just, there's so many people who can tell them in different ways and different styles and blending styles. And, you know, you can come up with the same. I used to belong to this writing group in Ontario, and we would have one prompt, go around the table. Everybody used that same prompt, but in such different ways. It was just absolutely incredible. You would even use the same words, but the stories were so different. And everybody brings so much of their own lives, whether you realize or not when you're writing. You bring so much of yourself into whatever work you're doing. And it's just so cool. I was just editing a book for someone the other day, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, I told her, I said, I can tell when you were getting really tired. She's like laughing, going, why? I said, well, you keep repeating words and you keep spelling them wrong. So they're all spelled different ways. So I said, don't write when you're really tired, because that's not working for you. But you can see a lot of her life experience in what she had written, because of, I know enough of her background to know that this was part of her life, and this was part of her life, and this is what she kind of wished would have been part of her life. So, but it's really kind of neat to see how we put ourselves in our work.
Well, it must be kind of fun being able to, if you had, as an example, like a parent who was less than perfect for whatever reason. I won't go into what the reason was, but you can later on, you can rewrite their life so that that problem didn't exist and they were the loving, kind-hearted person that you always really wanted them to be.
I think I do that a lot, actually. Kind of grew up with that. So yeah, I noticed that, especially as I'm doing the re-edits and stuff, I noticed that there's certain characters or certain types of characters in particular that are the kind of people I would have loved to have in my life. And, not so much love interests or anything, but like kind of parent figures, right? And that actually just struck me this morning while I was doing my own editing. And I'm like, oh, wow, I never even thought of that before, but it really was a thing.
Well, I've several things that I want to give our audience the idea of. And that one is that if you are wanting to be a coach or a teacher, which I think is the highest occupation there is, being a teacher to our young people, or somebody, or a Cub Scout leader, pack leader, or something like that, don't wait. Do it. If you have a heart for kids, if you want to really, because you just don't know which kid you're going to affect if you're a coach, like no other kid. That I was a coach one time, and this kid that we always had a good relationship. He was a nice kid, and I liked him, and I treated him well. But at the end of the season, he came up to me in full tears, saying, I want you to be my coach. Meaning, he wanted me to be his dad. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, there was a hole in his life that I was able to fill up for him. And it surprised me because I didn't think I had that big of an impact. He wasn't a great player. He sat on the bench a lot, but we talked and I joked with him and stuff. Apparently, he wasn't getting much of that. So if you can do that for people, if you can learn how to write and have an impact in somebody's life, please don't do it. Do it. Hey, here's a bumper sticker. Don't poo it, do it.
I think, and that's one of the things I love too. Like even though during COVID and stuff, we couldn't see our friends, and everybody was struggling. Everybody was having, those moments of mental, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I just want to give up. I started sharing stupid jokes, like the dumber, the better. And, my kids can't even call them dad jokes anymore. It's their mom jokes. And I keep sharing the dumbest jokes that I can find because they make me laugh. And I think if they make me laugh, they're going to make somebody else laugh. And if they laugh, they're going to share them and make somebody else's day. And that's been a thing for me for years now. And it gets to the point if I'm having a rough week and I don't share any, and all of a sudden I find one that's funny and I share it, everybody goes, oh, she's back. I'm like, I didn't go anywhere. I just, was busy. But people have come to expect that. They come to my page and it's like the dumbest jokes ever. So, and people will private message me the dumb jokes too. So it's the best because I've created this whole little circle of, okay, well, let's share the really silly jokes and make each other laugh, because, everybody, you don't know what everybody's dealing with. Like you said, with this little boy, you have no idea what was going on at home, what he was missing out on, what he, if he had eaten that morning, that kind of thing. Right. And I find I do that at my job too. I work in customer service, and most people are like, oh my God, yeah, we have stories. But if you can see somebody coming and you can feel that energy, you can see that on them, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they're like, they won't meet your eyes, and you crack a joke or you say something silly, and they'll look at you and they'll start laughing. And I don't know how many people that have walked away after interactions with me, and they're like, thank you. You just totally made my day. My day was crap, and now I can go home and have a smile on my face. So that, for me personally, just makes my day, because then I feel better that I've lightened up somebody else's day, which is, I love your station. I love your show because of that. That's what you do.
I got to tell you, I love surprising people. And I got a call the other day from somebody that, and it had to do with a vehicle, and we have a contract, and we have to have so many years, and I said, well, so tell me, and she was like saying, okay, the payment is late. And so it was like one of those calls that they don't like to make either, because somebody's going to say, what do you mean it's late? And I was like, oh yeah, I know. We'll take care of it, and I'll go call him. And I said, by the way, how much do we owe on the thing? And she said, well, you owe X. And I said, oh, so we don't get a break if we pay it off early? And she said, oh no, that's not in the contract. And so I said, can we change the contract then? There was silence. She was like, and I could hear in going through her mind, she was like, is he serious? Is he kidding? I can't tell. What do I say? How do I say it now? So, but and by the way, I since you work in customer service, I have to say this to everybody. Please, please, please be kind to the customer service person, because they don't have any choice. They've got to be nice to you. But if you take it out on them, they're getting paid an hourly wage to sit there and listen to your bull crap. And be nice to them. They work for somebody else, and it's not their decision or their thing. They're just doing what they've been told they have to do. Just be kind to them, because they didn't do it. Go go quit the company, or go do something with somebody else and talk to a VP or somebody who has, but customer service, they're an easy target. Yep. And we need to get rid of an easy target, because it's not fair to the human being, because then you go home and you kick your husband out of the house and the dog and whatever it is, you know what I mean? So please do that for me. If you have a kind heart, just be kind, because you are, Diane, you are a lovely lady, and I can't imagine anybody being mean to you, but it happens all the time.
It does happen. Absolutely. And the more you get to work with people, the more you learn. You can turn things around, and and I've done that for done this for a long, long time. And but you do get those people some days that it doesn't matter what you say, what you do. If you you can be as sweet as you want, and they're having an awful day and they just need to vent. Sometimes I've actually had people, when I worked in a different job, I actually had somebody call me back and say, I am so sorry. This is what had happened that day, and I took it out on you. And I'm like, it's okay. I know that. Like, I get it. And I appreciate the apology, but, we do understand. And sometimes we get snippy too, and we don't mean to do that, but we've just had, a lineup of 20 customers, and then the next person comes up and you're like, oh, not another one. Like, I just need like 2 minutes. Just let me breathe. Okay. So, sometimes we have really bad experiences too. And you try very hard just to kind of shelve that in the back and go, okay, let's move on to the next person. And,
I'm sorry. I don't care who you are, but it takes an exemplary human being to say that guy was a complete a-hole, and now I'm going to be nice to this guy without any expectations. It
And
really is hard to do that.
it is extremely hard to do. And sometimes the person behind the a-hole will go, oh man, that guy was really awful. Like, you shouldn't have to deal with that. And so that part kind of is nice too, that people will see what other people do and go, oh man, that was uncalled for. I'm like, thank you. I thought it was just me, But and it's like that, with editing and stuff too. Like working on edits for people, and I'm mean. Like I am nasty. You would never guess it. The last person I was editing for, my first line to her was, "Okay, your manuscript looks like a bloodbath, but they're nice comments. They really are." And she had a good chuckle. She's like, yeah, I see all the red marks. So yeah, I get it.
I wanted to ask you, in your coaching and in working with authors and with people on the creativity that they're trying to produce within themselves, do you find that if somebody were to take like a creative acting or a improvisational acting class or something like that, that helps them free their mind up to think a little quicker and be able to maybe open to different ideas and possibilities?
See, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, when I was in university, I took acting classes. I took improv, well, sort of improv. Oh my gosh, we did children's theater. You want to talk improv?
Oh, yes.
We actually took shows into schools, which was so much fun. But at the same time, there's shows that you're just going, where do they learn this stuff?
I know.
We were doing, how was it? Little Red Riding Hood. Oh my gosh. And the wolf comes along, and then along comes the lumberjack going, okay, I don't have anything with me. What am I going to do? How am I going to get rid of this wolf? And some kid goes, shoot him with an Uzi. We're all like, oh, okay, well, the Uzi's still at home. Now what? It's like, but you go home at the end of it and you just can't stop laughing about that one kid because it was just priceless. So
Oh, and if you can learn how to do improv, there's nothing better for me in life than to make somebody that I'm doing a improv with crack up.
yeah.
And they don't even mean to. I was doing an improvisational thing, and they took us from being an animal to being a caricature, and I was a turtle, and I was up against a grizzly bear, and he was the boss, and he was going to fire me, and I was sitting in my chair and real demure and how a turtle should be, and he was loud, and he was big, and he was monstrative, and he said, you're fired, and I said, but sir, you can't fire me, I have a wife and 3 eggs at home. And he goes, he says, no, you got, and then it dawned on him what I'd said, and just totally cracked him up. And that was one of those fun things in life. And you can take improvisational acting and you can use it for sales, you can use it for customer service. It gives you a certain amount of confidence. So if you're a parent and you have a kid, put them in acting class. That'll help you so much.
And it's so great for their confidence. I worked in theater for a long time, and it was so cool to see kids when they'd first come into the programs and they would be, the heads down, that sort of thing. You'd see them on stage, a few months later, and it was night and day. Like they owned what they were doing. They owned who they were and what they were doing. And just to see them come back year after year after year and build those skills and build that confidence was just incredible.
By the way, she is Diane Bator, and she is a phenomenal author. She's got 16 books. She is a coach. She's an editor. I don't know how you be an editor. You must buy like all your red pens at Costco because you need a lot of them.
A lot of it's on the computer, which is really great. So,
Oh, there you go.
but
And
my own stuff, yeah, I have red and pink everywhere. So yeah.
so go to her website, which is www.dianebator.ca, because she's in Canada, and call her and talk to her if you have a desire. If you want to be a writer, she's would be a wonderful coach, and then she can send you your manuscript written all over it and tell you how to do it better, because that's what a good editor does. And you don't take no for an answer. We need to take one quick break, and then we're done for the day with that, and we'll be right back. So please stay right where you are.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And I got to tell you, Diane, there are people I enjoy having on the show, and then there are people that I enjoy having on the show. And you are one of those people that I really enjoy having on the show.
Thank you.
You're dynamic. You're very gifted, and you can put two words together and make them sound like gold.
At least I can put two words together. That's a good start.
A lot of us can't do that. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, not literally, but figuratively speaking, and so you can help coach them, how would they do it?
Either reach out on my website, as you said, or there are links. I am on just about every social media platform. So just pretty much put in my name. You can find me everywhere.
And again, her website is www.dianebator.ca. You know, it's kind of too bad. If you put in my name, you know what comes up?
Oh.
Some Canadian actor.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
He's been doing, he's a stand-up comic. He's been doing that. He was in Hollywood. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His name's Kevin McDonald.
It is.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember. But if you go to Positive Talk or Positive Talk Radio or Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, then we cover the first 9 pages. I've got over 850 episodes up. There are lots and lots of people that are listening. I'd like to thank the gentleman who is the pilot of the airplane Delta that flies back and forth from California to New York, and he carries that other dastardly Kevin McDonald back from New York to LA, and he told me that he would have Kevin listen to the show. So
Nice.
So, and folks from Canada and folks from all over the place. It really is wonderful. And but it's great to have someone like you here, because you are very, very talented at what you do. And now I know that things did not go well with your publisher. Can you give us take a couple moments and give folks that are interested in writing a book some do's and don'ts around hiring a publisher?
Yeah. Like I said, I had worked with them for 10 years and from across the country and stuff. And when I was moving to Alberta, they were based in Alberta. So I got to see behind the scenes, which was very enlightening. And I guess I thought, because I got a publisher, I was so excited, and all these books are coming out. But one of the things I found was my royalties never went up. And that was kind of a big red flag, because I ended up with 15 books and my royalties were still way down. And I'm like, that just doesn't make sense, because I know there's a bit of a fan base and I know who's buying books and whatever. And it just didn't make any sense to me. And then I started getting a lot of feedback about the editing of the books. And, when early on, I really had no clue because, I was just starting out and I wasn't totally professional about all of this stuff yet. And now as I'm going through them, I can see, one of the things that they did is they're like, oh yeah, we have these great editors, and their editors were actually fellow writers, some of them who were not editors. They kind of did spell check more than anything else. And they did not, I'm going through and I'm putting in commas where there should have been commas. So that sort of thing, right? And so, it takes you as a writer. You can take the courses, you can take all this stuff, you can, and learn a lot, learn as much as you can, do the research, check out the publishers, check out their authors, read their books. If you're really impressed with how they write and how it's edited and all of that, you can even talk to some of the authors and find out what they know and what they don't know. I've had a friend of mine that actually was doing interviews with a bunch of different publishers to gather information for an article. And she came away completely enlightened by some of the things she found out and she was telling me some of these things. And I'm like, well, I never would have thought of that. So, and just about how royalties are paid out in those companies and how they're edited and who does the book covers and that sort of thing. And it was very interesting. When I left the publisher back in January 2024, ever since then, the things I've learned have just made me go, yeah, I made the right choice. I love that I have my own control over my books, my company, everything. And I just love the work. Like for me, it's playtime. Like you were talking about passion earlier. This is my passion, and it always has been.
And it really is important that because it seems to me that a lot of publishers will say, well, you're sending your manuscript into me or your book into me, and then if we like it, we'll publish it. If we don't like it, we're not going to publish it. And so if they say we're going to publish it, you're like, yay, finally somebody's going to publish a thing. But you don't really know if they're going to do a good job at getting that done. And they're certainly not going to tell you. They're going to say, we're pretty crappy, but we'll publish your book. Right. So you've got to do your own due diligence. And it's the way it is in all of life, it seems to me these days.
And one of the other things too is if you're a writer and you're putting out on social media that you're writing this book, and somebody approaches you and says, oh, we'll publish your book and it'll cost you this much, turn and run. You're going to end up paying thousands of dollars, have a garage full of books, and they might not be very good books. I've seen some of the books that have been through that process, and it, depending on who does them, yeah, it can be not a good experience.
So it could actually be a money-making experience of the publisher to the author, because if you pay them a certain amount, then they'll publish your book. But then if it doesn't sell, you have to buy them back, and then it ends up in your garage.
You've already paid for 2,000 books or 1,000 books or whatever. That's the money you pay. You're stuck with those books.
And if they don't market it correctly, they're going to end up in your garage.
Yeah. And
Diane,
you have to do a lot of legwork to get rid of those. So.
Boy, no kidding. Diane Bator, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. You are awesome, and I look forward to many, many more books from you.
Well, and I will be back to talk to you to chat again.
Indeed. Well, your publisher, Creative Edge, they do a great job, and I'm looking forward to talking with all the folks. I tell you, and I'm not allowed to say, but he's good. So anyway, Diane, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at kmmedia.pro.